What is up, sister friend? Welcome to another episode of Heart to Heart with Coach Emily, or as my lovely guest Sarah Jones said, maybe just Emily. um, Today we have a super special guest, my coach, friend, wise woman, Sarah Jones. She has been my coach for almost 2 years now. Right?
I think so. I don't keep track of time, but holy cow. Yeah.
It's like almost 2 years. And she has been super pivotal in just my growth, my life. Um, I take everything you say so seriously because you're just so full of wisdom and have such a good perspective. So I'm so excited to have you on my podcast. You're my second guest ever. But I want you to introduce you. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about Sarah.
Oh, I've got like tears in my eyes. Um, wow, I just need a second here.
Okay.
Um, and if I may, I want to explain the emotion just a little bit because I think that this will help people too. But I lived so much of my life, Emily, like wanting to make an impact with people, but not knowing how, right? And I always came across very harsh and very bold and very strong. Um, and it was and I tried to do it in a lot of the wrong ways, I'll be real honest, because I had a lot of self-esteem issues and such, and I found myself wanting to make an impact, but staying a lot inside of myself, right? And not sharing and not helping. And so to hear you say that, knowing all the growth and all the changes and all the work, the inner work that I've done over the past several years, um, it's a good reminder, right? And it's a good just outward expression of, dude, you've done the work and it's paying off, not only for me but for other people. So I just want to say thank you for that, because sometimes we need that reminder. Sometimes the work that we're doing, it feels like, am I really seeing the difference, right? And sometimes this inner work that we do, it's not easy. And
Yeah.
so I just want to say thank you. But um my name is Sarah Jones. I am a full-time RVer. I love money. I love talking about money. I am a multi-business owner. Um, in a so I own businesses in a lot of different areas. Um, I love gardening and house plants.
Yeah.
And I love just going all in life, and that's happening more and more for us right now. And I'm trying to reach out and tell people, like, go all in life, and what does that look like? And it's so fun. So that's kind of all over the place, but that's where I'm at.
Love it. Yeah. Sarah is like true entrepreneurial spirit. In every sense of the word, like all the pieces that go into an entrepreneur, like you work super hard, you have so many ideas. You and your husband are like, let's do this thing. And then we do it. And like, which speaks to my heart and soul, which, like I love ideas. I have new ones every day. It takes a lot of willpower not to act on every single idea that I have. And it's just one of my favorite parts of people who are entrepreneurs. And like, I won't go down the rabbit hole. I think a lot of us are actually entrepreneurs. We've just been like stifled to not be an entrepreneur. But when you find your kindred entrepreneur spirits, you're just like, I've said to Sarah since I've met her, like, you can never leave me. Like you can't leave me. So no, she lives a super cool life, guys. She literally just gallivants around the country in her RV and just does what she wants while running her business in the RV. And like, it's just so cool. It's just so cool, especially like, not that you're like old, but like in the sense of like most women your age don't do that. Right. So
Right.
it's very cool.
Right. Well, thank you. And I think we're the dreamers, right? Like we're the true dreamers in life. And those are the people that I love working with, are the ones that maybe we've forgotten how to dream for a while. I certainly had, but the true dreamers in life that see the possibilities. Maybe we don't know how to get there. Maybe we don't really know how to make it happen, but just seeing all the new exciting things, the possibilities. My husband always says, he said, Sarah, he goes, you're the dreamer, but you're like 10 years ahead. He's like, so he's the one that always brings me back into today. He's like, okay, can we focus on today, please? Like, I see, you're on the other side of the mountain, but can we get back here? But that's what I love about you, is being, that dreamer too, right? And just seeing the possibilities and yeah, it's fun to get to meet and have these people and have someone like you in our lives, in my life. So
Austin's the same way with me. Obviously, I've told you. Austin's always like, last night, Austin, actually, you'll find this funny. Last night, Austin told me that he goes, sometimes I just don't feel that you live in this realm.
Right.
And I was like, we're gonna skip past that because I don't feel like diving into that tonight. But okay, thank you. But I think
that's hilarious. That's
like same like your husband. Like, let's keep our feet on the ground. And I'm like, but look at that cloud. Wow,
right.
So I think it's hilarious how ours are similar.
It is. And, but that's what makes us work so well too, right? Is one of us being the dreamer and can push forward and present new ideas and, and kind of do some of the groundwork, right? To make that happen. I call it reverse engineering, right? So you kind of see what you want several years down, and then you kind of work it backwards and say, okay, what do I need to do today? And then that's where our other halves are like, but let's still focus on today. And I don't know all the questions you wanted to ask me, but I do want to bring this up because I think it's really relevant. And I think being an entrepreneur, it can be really hard sometimes to put our schedules and to figure out, like, we get so focused in one area, I think so focused on just building our business that we forget about building our lives. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mentioned kind of going all in your life, but it's, we need that other person, I think, to kind of rein us in, because I would work all the time, partly because I love my business. I love all my businesses, right? But I need somebody to pull me back and say, dude, like, today's our day for exploring. Like, today is not your day to work. And it's just that healthy balance, right? It's just the healthy balance of say today, like, build your life while you're building your business.
Yes. Preach. Literally. That's what I want to do with entrepreneurs, like my new, business and everything, like living that life. So we're gonna have Sarah obviously back on the podcast because Sarah's a huge part of Full Circle Coaching, and I want her to drop knowledge bombs left and right on you guys about money and all of that great stuff. But today I want to do, Heart to Heart is about connection and seeing people, and I want you to see Sarah. I know an hour, 45 minutes is enough time to see all the layers of you, but I think let's just like start with money. So Sarah is, how I got started with Sarah, she's a financial coach. She, though, has grown much more than that small statement of financial coach. You are so much more than a financial coach. Mm-hmm. But money is a lot of the reason why people start with you, right? Wanting to understand money, want to understand budget. And I would love for you, one, just for the people to know like what your philosophy on like budgeting and all of that looks like, but really like something I feel like I would love to know about you. So that's question number one. Question two would be, tell us a little bit about how you built this super healthy relationship with money.
Yeah. And so to start off, I think people do come to me because they feel like they're terrible with money. I hear that a lot. I'm terrible with money. I don't understand money. I feel frustrated. I'm on this paycheck to paycheck cycle, right? Small business owners come and say, I don't understand business finances, right? And I want to make sure that I'm building a financially healthy business. And, I feel like I talk about money very differently than most other people out there in the world do. And I feel like we're bombarded with this, you can't take a vacation if you have debt, right? Quit getting your morning coffee, if you don't have your emergency fund in place. You don't get to do and purchase the things that you want if you owe money, if you don't have a good written budget. And it plays into scarcity and restriction and shame and guilt. And I am not about that anymore. I find, and I'm going to say particularly women, but I want to talk a little bit about men too. But women, I think we carry this tremendous amount of guilt and shame on our shoulders when it comes to money. We feel guilty for spending money on ourselves. We feel like we can't, go in, we have to ask permission. I did this last night even. But like asking permission to spend money, right?
Yeah.
And so I talk about money in terms of your values, what brings value to your life and what you value. And I want people to be spending money in the areas that actually bring you value. It's not about restriction. If you like your morning coffee, if that sets your day up for feeling happy, right, and you get to meet people at the coffee shop, and it sets your day up for, cliche, but sets it up for success, like you
Yeah.
enjoy it, it really does, right? I've got my homemade one here, but you shouldn't not do that
Right.
because of shame or guilt being put on you. So
Yeah.
I want you to be spending money in the areas that actually bring value to your life, that enhance your life. And then I do want you to get rid of all the areas that you're doing that you're kind of subconsciously spending, the mindless spending, the stuff that doesn't feel good. Let's get rid of that. That has no place in your life anymore, right? I want you to be spending money in an area that feels good, in all areas that feel good. And sometimes it takes some work to get rid of some of those areas. I was one, had a lot of debt. That debt did not feel good to me. It took some time, right, to get that debt eliminated, get it removed from my life so I could spend more money in the areas that I truly value. But it's not about shame and guilt and restriction and scarcity anymore. It's about spending in the areas that make you feel good, that bring value to your life. And it's taken me a lot of years. I'll share, my money journey has been much longer than a lot of what I talk about. I talk a lot about just my husband and I's money journey over the past 19 years, but my money journey goes way back, and all of ours do. All of you listening, your money journey starts from your very first memory of money and growing up, and how your parents talked about money and dealt with money. But I have lived much of my life with major scarcity around money, literally terrified to spend a penny.
Yeah.
If money, I've always said, put money in my savings account and I will do some shady shit to avoid pulling money out. And that's not healthy. It's
Right.
just because there's a savings account and I was contributing to a savings account doesn't mean I had a healthy relationship with money. It was based on scarcity. It was based on terrified to spend $1 because I wasn't sure when my next one was coming in. And am I getting another $1, or is it just going to be 10 cents, right? So I saved everything, and it was not only an unhealthy relationship with money and me, but with my children, with my friends, with my husband. And it was really detrimental. And literally the day after James and I got married, he was not expecting this, but we were sitting outside by our front door, and I grabbed a notebook. I'm like, okay, we're getting rid of all of this debt. Like, what credit cards do you have? What? And he's like, we just got married yesterday, Sarah. Like, what are you doing? But Emily, James and I have been debt free twice. We paid off. I grab my little sticker here. I keep this as a reminder. From 2006 to 2010, James and I paid off over $60,000 worth of debt. But we did it in a way that was full of scarcity. It was full of shame. It was full of guilt. And we worked those 4 years, right, to only be debt free for 4 months, because we went back into debt 4 months later. And so at the end, so that was July 24th of 2010 was when we became debt free for the first time. We were back in debt by November of 2010. And from 2010 to 2018, we accrued and paid off another $54,000 worth of debt. Plus, we saved $50,000 in our savings account during that time. And I share this because going back into debt the second time, again, the shame and the guilt and the frustration, I was pissed. I'm like, I followed the plans out there. I followed what these books were telling me to do. I was listening to these gurus, right? And we did the thing, but our marriage was in the worst shape it had ever been, right? I had a worse relationship with money than I had ever had before. I had a worse relationship with my kids than I had ever had, and more stress than I could have ever than I ever remembered. And so that's where that second go around, I was like, I'm doing this different, and it took me a lot of years. I'm not here to say it really wasn't until about 2017. So 7 years, right, into the second debt-free journey that I really started looking into things differently. And we started communicating, and I really started changing my relationship with money. And, I'm happy to say in 2021, we sold our home. And so we have been 100% debt free, no mortgage or anything since then. But it's been a journey, a long, painful. We don't have one of these success stories that you hear out there like, hey, I paid off $100,000 in 6 months and that's awesome. That was not our journey. And I want people to know that sometimes it's the long haul, right? And that's what I really teach. It's teaching these skills and this mindset to last you a lifetime, not just the meantime.
No, oh my gosh, that is crazy. I did not know that. First of all, I know it was hard, and I can only imagine the stress. I have $5,000 on my credit card and I'm having a freak out. Like, so $60,000 would be like, I'm gonna be waitressing. I will be all of the things. So that's brave, like, to tackle that, right? Because that's a moment where you can say, you can do something about it, or you could be like, this is our life. This is just, we're in debt, like that's just like a huge, I just want to take note of that, because like that mindset of like, we need to do something. And it, just because you got it done the first time doesn't mean it's the right way. And the second time you had to try it all over again. It almost was like the, universe, God was like, try again, sweetie. Like, we're not there yet.
And that's a really, really painful lesson to go through, because I'm just like, but it was 4 years of really hard work. And why? Yeah. Why? I asked that question a lot. And, and there have been people that have tried to justify it and make me feel better, like, Sarah, some of it was medical debt, but here's the thing. I didn't learn the skills the first go around to be able to stay out of debt or to plan for the things that I knew were going to happen. And that's what the big kicker was. And we weren't living according to our values. So we were scrimping, we were saving, we were, restricting on every single level. Right. But we also were not looking ahead, and we weren't looking at the things that we knew were going to happen in life. And we weren't taking the time to plan for those. And so that's what I really try and help people do, is look at not only your values, right? And it was really hard to see my values during a lot of that time. I was in scarcity, but I was in survival mode for a lot of that. And I won't go into all the stuff that was going on in my life, but there was a lot. There were attorney's fees. There were thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in medical expenses. It was hard. It was really, really hard. And one of the toughest things, just to share about kind of the scarcity journey and why I don't want people to go down that path and why I'm so passionate about it. And I will probably cry, because I cry every single time I tell this story. But when my kids were little, they still do. They are young adults now, but they always ask for ice cream. wanted to go and get ice cream all the time. And, you know, I told them no every single time they asked. Nobody told me during that time that $1.50, I could have gone through the McDonald's drive-through and spent $2.06, right? For 2 ice cream cones for them. Nobody told me that that was going to improve my relationship or could improve my relationship with my kids. Nobody told me that that wasn't going to change my debt payoff trajectory. Nobody told me that that wasn't going to sink my savings account. I felt all those things because I felt all the shame and the guilt that the world was putting out there and all the books that I read, right?
Yeah.
That you do not do these extras if you have debt. And I believed it. I absolutely believed it because these are experts. These are the people out there that are like telling me how to get out of debt. And here I was trying so hard. And I just look back, and that is one of my biggest regrets ever, is I wish I would have just did it, not every day, right? We could have gone once a week and gotten an ice cream cone, right? It would have actually changed the trajectory of everything in my life for the better. And that is one of my biggest, and I see it happen, and not that exact thing with a lot of people, but I see people, you know, spending all their money, right? Because out of guilt, right? Because they don't want to tell their children no, or they don't want to tell themselves no, right? And they're like, I spent all this money on groceries, I deserve these things. Well, I just want to change so much of the language that we use, and let's just look at, what do you actually want?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of this journey, right? And you don't live one life, you live every single day. You were graced with this. You opened your eyes in the morning. So grateful for that, for opening my eyes. So let me live today.
Yes.
And let me plan, because I plan on opening my eyes again tomorrow. So let me plan for tomorrow as well. And you can do both very successfully.
Oh, let's go. And the podcast is over. No, I'm just kidding. I think though it's so true, because I think, and I can speak even from my own journey. You feel like, the best way I can describe it is, you feel like you have a dictator over your life, and you feel constricted, and you feel like almost bound, right? And so like, it's almost like you're bound up, but then there's like these random pockets that are open. They have no, you don't know what these pockets are, but it's the language of like, my biggest thing was buying clothes. If I'm out here buying clothes like a psycho, that is my red flag to myself and everyone out there. I am not well. Something is wrong, right? But I didn't know that, right? Because the dictator is telling me, Emily, you need to put money in savings. Your checking account has to look like this for you to feel good, instead of understanding, my checking account can have $100 in it. And I'm like, great month, Emily. Like, you did good this month. Like, look at this. This was all in value, right? So it's that dictator that holds that grip over your life and saying no to this and yes to things that make no sense. Like, so I think, one, just from my personal experience, but just sharing your personal experience, the values thing is the literal game changer to your money and the voice. I did want to ask though, so was in 2017, is that when you started Keeping Up with the Joneses?
No, I started that in 2018. So literally last week was my 5-year business anniversary. I just, in 2017, I will say my marriage was still not in a really great place. Like, we were at a point where we were literally looking at filing divorce. And I had been through a divorce before. I had been married previous to meeting and marrying James. And I didn't want to go through another one, but I'm just like, I don't know what else to do here, you know, and him and I were not in a great place. We were making more money than we had ever made together. And we were in the worst place that we had ever been, both marriage, personally, with the kids, like everything. Right. And I just, you know, him and I sat down, and he's like, well, I guess we're filing. And I was just like, I was devastated. like devastated. And I said, my words to him were, I just want you to put your arms around me and tell me that it's going to be okay. And I don't know how we're going to get through this, but we are going to get through this. And he didn't at first, you know, because we were both very hurt.
Yeah.
But, and I'm not blaming everything on money, but money played a very large part in it. Right. And because money it was the cause of a lot of our stress, because we weren't handling money very well, which meant we weren't handling each other very well. We were not communicating very well. We got to the point where we were actually walking the same path. Like we had the same vision in life, but we were walking, like imagine walking down a road, but walking with your backs to each other. So everything that you're seeing is your own vision, right? You're going on the same road, but your backs are touching. So I'm looking out this way, he's looking this way. We were doing it alone. And I'm just like, we need to face the same direction here, right? He can still see his side and I still have my side, right? But we are both looking forward. And it was really then that I actually stepped back and I'm like, I need to work on myself. Like I've got a lot of work on myself that I need to be doing here. And that was hard because I played the blame game a lot, you know, if only he would do this and if only he would do that. But really what it was working on myself. So long story short, I started really working on myself. We had a lot of people that he worked with came to us and were asking us, you know, like, how are you guys doing it? How did you get debt free? How are you able to do these things? Right. And, the opportunity came along to be trained as a financial coach. And like, this feels like my calling. Like, I really want to do this. And, I guess the rest is history. So they say.
I just think like there's like a huge like lesson there that I feel like entrepreneurs should hear. And or if you are an entrepreneur and you are looking maybe to change your path, or you're having this feel like, for you to go into debt twice, and then in 2018 you're like, you know what, I'm gonna open my own business. Most people would be like, you're insane. You clearly, like, you know, you had all this quote unquote evidencing contrary to the fact opening a business might not be the best decision, but you trusted yourself. You said you listened to your intuition and you moved into your business that you've now, I don't know if you guys know, a business being open and alive for 5 years is no small feat. Like that is an amazing, like I want that for myself. I want that for all of my friends to be able to get to be like, I've been doing this for 5 years. Like that's amazing. So, what would, yeah, like, can you speak to that at all? Like that decision?
Yeah. And so what's interesting is I actually had another business. I opened my first, like my, I don't want to say my first business, but my first like official business in 2007.
Oh.
And so I've had, and I still currently have that business. But I never felt successful with it. I never felt that it never made the amount of money that I wanted to make with it. And so I felt like a failure. And so wanting to then to open, and let me tell you all, I want to share this. Like, dude, you guys, like, if you think your life is a little bit wonky, like come into my head and learn about my life, because it's, you will feel better after listening to this. Your life really isn't. And I mean that in all the good ways. This is not like self-deprecating humor. Like this is really, Emily, I grew up in a household where my dad worked a full-time job and he also had multiple businesses.
Okay.
He was the dreamer. He was the entrepreneur, but it was based out of this fear, right? Like, I need to have all of these businesses so we can make more money, so we can survive, so we can pay the bills, so we can do these things. We have 3 kids. So I grew up being around an entrepreneur, but it came from an unhealthy place, right?
Gotcha.
There's a place that you can be a healthy entrepreneur, and there's a place that it can be an unhealthy entrepreneur. Yeah. And for most of my life, when I started my first business in 2007, I never felt successful because it never made the amount of money that I wanted it to make. And part of that was due to my own belief in myself, never reaching out, kind of doing the cookie cutter things, but never really working one-on-one with somebody to learn about and to heal some of my own wounds.
Right.
Through that time, I used to make cakes on the side. Yeah, so I made cakes for money. I worked at a kids consignment sale for extra money. There was a period of time where I had, and they were all kind of like businesses, but not official, like they weren't registered, but it was always like, what can I do to add more money? So when I started and decided to open up Keeping Up with the Joneses, I was still in that mindset, like, hey, I can make money doing this, but I really want to help people with their money. And I'll tell you, in 2021 was the first time that I quit literally everything else. And now I still have my other business, but I wasn't working it. So I want to be really clear. I still have it, but I wasn't working it. My focus was not there. I actually told all of my customers and everything, like, hey, I'm stepping back from here. You're not going to hear from me for a while.
Right.
So 2021 was actually the first year that I only had my one coaching business. That was it. It was terrifying. But I knew then that if I was going to make this work, I needed to focus on it. Right. And it wasn't for the money. It was for, like, if I'm really supposed to be here, then this is enough. Right. It's enough. It's not the amount of money that I was making that makes it successful. It's that I believe in myself. I know my mission here. I know that this is where I am supposed to be, regardless of how much money it makes.
Right.
Because business success has nothing to do with the amount of money that you make. And I know people
laugh.
Right? Because that's what we do. We put our success based on how much money we make as business owners. And that's simply not true. It's simply not true. Now, do I like to make money? Yes. I love money. Yes. And that's why now I'm in a place that I have several businesses, and it comes from a very healthy place, right? It's not just to make more money. It's like, hey, there's a need here and I can fill this need for people, right? And this is something that I'm living in that I want to be able to share with other people. So it comes from a very healthy place now, but it was terrifying, right? But it takes the inner work. It really takes that courage, the bravery to step out and to try something again. So even if you've tried something in the past and it didn't work, it doesn't mean that it's not going to work this time, right? But you have to be brave enough to step out and to do it.
Facts. And I think this is huge. And this is why when I started working with Sarah, I was like, I know you're a financial coach, but I feel like you're a therapist, like, because there's so much inner work that goes into money, being an entrepreneur, owning a business, like the interconnectedness between all of it is so deep that if you are an entrepreneur, someone who is just starting their business, or you're just trying to heal your relationship with money, you gotta dive deeper. And like, think, especially for my fitness coaches out there, if you are thinking about like your money, your business, think about your clients that are obsessed with calories and are like, I don't feel successful. I'm just, I went over my calories. And you're like, ma'am, it's not about the calories, right? That's what kind of like Sarah's saying with money. Like, it's not about the dollars. It's about the intention behind the dollars, your belief about the dollars. Like, it's so much deeper than that. And even as an entrepreneur, like you and Sarah can really speak to this because I think you have beautiful words on it, but like defining your own success, what that actually means for you instead of what you are told is successful.
Absolutely. And I would even, and I would just tell people, and say, you need to define what success actually looks like for you. Like, what does it actually mean for you? And you need to define what enough is, right? And I say enough is not a dollar amount, it's a feeling. And define that, take the time, because we listen to everybody else's definition and we suck that in as our own. And I'm not successful if I'm not making $20,000 a month, and I'm not successful if I'm not making $30,000 a month and I'm only working 3 days a month, right? Like, because this is what we're told. And I'm just gonna say, it drives me insane to hear some of the business coaches and so many of the programs out there, guys, saying that, you can work 20 hours a week and make, $50,000 a month. Here's the thing, that might be the case, but that's not what I want you to focus on, because you are leading yourself down a path of destruction if that's what you're focusing on. And it's very, very unhealthy. I really say that I want your impact, or your scaling, the growth of your business, to be focused on impact, not income. And if you are only building this business for money, then you're in the wrong business.
Yeah.
You're in the wrong business. And let me tell you, there's nothing wrong with wanting money. There's nothing wrong with wanting to make more money. There is nothing wrong with loving money at all. I want everybody to love money, and I want everybody to make hordes and hordes of money. But if the only reason why you are doing something is for the money, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. There's this, and I can link it in the show notes. My favorite speech of all time is one of them. I have several. There's two, but the one I listen to frequently, there's a football player named Inky Johnson. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
There was this football player, Inky Johnson, and I'll keep this short and sweet. I'll link the YouTube video, but I cry every time I watch the video. I've watched it like 45 times, but he grew up really 14 people, one bedroom, 6 kids in one bed, 3 at the head, 3 at the foot, then he would run the street lamps with no shoes in his neighborhood. And a coach picked him up, was like, you need to play football. His mom worked at Wendy's. He would stay late and do drills because his mom would work at Wendy's late, pick him up in this old car she had. And his main message is like, it can't just be about you, right? He was like, one of these days you're going to hit a wall that's bigger than you, and you need something to help you get through it. And it's got to be someone else. So like, it was his mom. And like, he got this scholarship to go to this other high school, a much nicer high school, instead of the shitty one where like pretty much 1% of the kids graduated. And he was like, I want to stay at this school because it's not just about me. I need to show the other kids. This man is remarkable. It's like, I want to show the other kids that they can do this too. And his nieces and nephews all went to college, some of them joined the military because they saw him go to college. And so that impact piece is massive. Whatever that impact is for you, for him it was his family and getting them out of poverty, and like just helping the Black community in Atlanta, Georgia. But for you it might be something else. And so like that money piece, like the money comes when you are living your mission and your service to others, or whatever that impact is for you.
Yeah, and I often say that when your values lead, money follows. Right. And so when you're really leading with your values and what's important to you, then the money comes in. The money is there. But if you're leading with money, you're going to be disappointed every single time, because it's never going to be enough, because you're always going to feel this hole inside, because you're trying to fill it with something. Yeah. And so when you lead with your values, the money comes, right? It comes in. What I love and what there's a quote, forgive me, I don't remember who said it, but I was listening to you share that story, it really speaks to the quote of, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go with other people, right? And it's really about surrounding yourself with other people as well, right? That it's not just about you, that sure, you can do things on your own, but you really need to surround yourself with people that are truly supportive of your journey, right? That are encouraging, that are there to celebrate you, really building this community around yourself of people that are doing the things that you want to be doing, that you can look up to, right? And knowing that you've got these people around you that are going to pick you up when you fall down, right? When you hit that wall, knowing that you've got people around you. I think it's so important. And that's one thing that I didn't do for much of my journey, was I tried to talking about money, telling our story, sharing that with people. I didn't want people to know. That was like, it hit me in the pride. I was very prideful, and I wanted people to think that we had money.
Yeah.
And most of my family, quite frankly, did feel like we had money. And the truth is we did, but we also had a lot of debt, and we were also in a really bad place mentally, right? And so there's this weird conundrum of like, when my dad died, I remember my brother and his now ex-wife came over, my sister and her then boyfriend came over, and my dad didn't have a will, didn't have life insurance, nothing. And so his final expenses fell on us kids. And I remember my siblings sitting in my kitchen, and my sister, now she was very young, she was 21 at the time, so that is young to lose a parent, just getting started in life. So, and I'll be honest, I'm giving her a little bit of a pass, but I remember her just saying, we don't have any money to help. I don't have any money to help. And I remember my brother and his now ex-wife and them saying the same thing. And them looking at me and James and saying, you're the one, you guys have the money, so you can take care of this. And I'm like, we've got 2 kids, but here's where the unhealthy relationship in families, but unhealthy relationship with money came in, because I was like, dude, I've got 2 kids. What do you have? Like, you're making good money and you don't have children to take care of. Like, why does this fall on me? But it's because that's the persona that I put out there, right? I talked about the money that we had in savings. I talked about the, just the good things that were happening in life, because I wanted people to think that everything was fine. And the truth is it wasn't fine. And that instance, and I hate to say it, but that was a pivotal point, and that happened. That was at the end of 2010. So,
Whoa.
it wasn't this, when we went back into debt for the second time. And so they're just, and, I talk a lot about how emotions play into, choices with money. That was a big part of what happened in that period of time in my life as well.
That makes
just, a lot of stuff going on, family wise, a lot of stuff going on in my own household. My son had just been diagnosed a couple months earlier with type 1 diabetes. And so that was injections and staying up all night to make sure that he was still alive. And it was, emotions really play into your money as well. And they definitely did for me during that period of time. But how, I don't want to say interesting, but if you really look back at these cycles and things that happen, you can almost, if you're willing to dig deep and to look, you can see the things that precipitated, right, those actions and what happened, and learning what those cycles were then allows you to maybe not have the same cycle, or to ward off, or to handle, as the cycle happens again, handle it a little bit differently.
Totally. Thank you for sharing that. That was, I know that's definitely tender on your heart. But so huge, right, to that emotion piece. That's been a huge lesson for me. And not just with money. Like, when you start really getting in a good place with your money, guys, I will say it opens your eyes to all these other behaviors that you're like, you didn't realize were there, and you're not going to like it. I'm just going to let you know, like, it's not very fun to realize all of your behaviors and patterns. But for me, that was huge. And now I can actually, my budget and looking back at my bank account is a huge part of me assessing my energy and like what's actually going on in my life. I will go back and be like, okay, well, clearly we were going through something.
Right.
It's like a direct mirror to what you're actually feeling. And it's definitely an ever-growing process. But I've always been curious on, and this may be too personal, so don't feel like you have to answer, but how you decided your money values. Like, so Sarah has everybody put their money into categories based on your values. She gives you like a framework, but you make it your own. And everybody is so uniquely different. So I'm just so curious to know what yours are.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it actually started because James and I talked, and when we were kind of in this 2017 time frame, when I decided like, hey, things have to be drastically different if we're going to stay married and if we're going to get through this. Right. And so what he shared with me, and James he is very quiet. He's a very quiet man. And we didn't have a lot of financial conversations because he felt that they were all confrontation. Right. I thought that they were conversations. No, he's like, no, it's definitely been confrontation, and I don't do confrontation. So I asked him, I'm like, what do you wish we could do with our money that we're not doing right now? And what he brought up, and this was not easy to hear, but he's like, I work my ass off, Sarah. Like, I work my ass off, and you are continually telling me that we are broke, that we can't do this and that we can't do that, and we don't have the money for this and that. He said, but when it comes time for you to do things, right, for you to say that we're doing this or we're going on vacation, you don't have any problem coming up with the money. I was like, oh, like
Burn,
God,
David.
like,
Yeah.
like getting punched in the stomach, right? That was my first indication that I was living into some of my values, but I wasn't taking into consideration what he valued. I assumed because he wasn't super involved in the money, I'm just like, I'm going to do it my way. So part of it was just really asking him, and then really asking myself, what do I actually value? Like, what is really important to me here? And we do not agree. We do more now, but at the time, we didn't agree on a lot of that.
Yeah.
I remember having a conversation. We really wanted to finish the basement in our home. That's the reason why we had purchased the home. And he went and bought a motorcycle, and I was like, well, I was pissed. I'm not going to lie. And I share this story too, like with people. I was so upset because I'm like, that motorcycle's for you. It's not for all of us. But what I wasn't taking into consideration is the freedom that motorcycle provides for him and for me. Like, I love it. But I had this conversation. I said, this is the last time I'm going to say this, but you say that we don't have the money for the basement, but then finishing the basement is important for me. And here's why. Here's why it's important for me. And I had to really vocalize, not to make him understand, but so he could see I didn't want him to feel the same way necessarily, but I wanted him to see why it was important for me. Because I started taking the time to see why it was important, why the motorcycle was important for him. Right. So over time, we've just gotten better at that. And now I talk, a lot. And I think part of it's just evolved because we talk about money so easily now. And, I'll say traveling is of high value for both of us. And so it's easy for us now to say, we don't spend money on, clothes. We don't have like subscriptions. Like, a lot of people have a lot of subscriptions. We don't have that. I was looking, I think we've got 8 things maybe on our budget that goes out of our account each month. Eight line items. That's it. But they're the most important things for us. And those 8 things are what brings the value to our life. And that's what allows us to create. And I talk about your created life. We are creating this life. And so fuel, do I like spending money on diesel fuel? No, but it provides, it brings a lot of value to my life because it literally powers us from here to there. Right. And so taking a look at, I don't like it, but that's the value piece for fuel, and that's why it's in our money plan. But it's easy once you really decide what is important to you at the time. Right. And the beauty is things change, your priorities, your values change depending on what season of life that you're in. So it's just an evolution. I know that was a really long answer to say. It was kind of an evolution of values and learning what it looked like in terms of prioritizing then our money according to those values. And, the categories that I use with clients, I can't even take credit for that. I totally stole those categories from another coach that I work with. I've told her I stole them. I've changed them a little bit, but because I felt like they fit so much into what I was speaking into, but it gave a good visual for people to say like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing that really creates community or creates impact in my life. And this, this is the piece that really allows me to invest in who I am and who I'm becoming in life. Right. And, I think it's a beautiful thing when you can see your money in terms of those categories.
It is. And it's so like, I think as entrepreneurs, and I mean, I'm going to just speak to entrepreneurs because that's who we really speak to. I'm going to say all people deal with scarcity. I see it now that I know what it is. I see it all the time. And I'm like, whoa, it's just like literally everywhere. Like, I feel like we could do a whole episode on just like scarcity mindset. But when you do things based on your values, I can say, like, I'm going to go with 99 because I'm not perfect, 99% confidence. Like, I don't really have scarcity anymore because, like, I know how important investing in myself is. I will do it every year, probably for the rest of my life, whether that's like a retreat, a course, whatever, like I deem as investing. Like, it is one of my very important values. And something like I say to people is like, going to eat is value of mine. I don't care if people think that's ridiculous. Like, it's making memories and it's like an experience that I just genuinely love. And so you have given me the tools to not have shame around that, because I used to feel shameful for wanting to go out to eat every weekend. But now I'm like, I already budgeted for it. I'm going out. Like, I want freaking ramen. I want Fuzzy's taco. Like, I am going, right? So when you have the values, and I think this just transcribes, Sarah, this is why I think your teachings are so powerful. When you have your values with your money, you're able to, I don't know if transmute maybe is the word, or transmit it to other areas of your life. So as a business owner, I make decisions based on what's true to my heart, and the money helps me make those decisions. But I honestly, like, there might be other avenues to get to that, but I like, this is so powerful because it opens your eyes so much, like so much. Like, I mean, it's nuts. Like, truly, like, me and Austin, we have very similar values in a lot of things, but like, just like the motorcycle thing, there's definitely discrepancies. But, when we say, like, when we think about our long-term vision, like, living a very free and fluid life is number one, like number one. So whatever we got to do to get there, that's how. But I don't know if we could have gotten there without the time spent on understanding my money values.
Yeah, and I think that, I don't think anybody does, right? I think that one thing I hear the most from people is that they wish they had, more freedom, right? And I'm going to put out there that more money can equal more freedom, right? Like, it really can. The more money you make, the more freedom you can have with things. But it's not the only piece of that, number one, because if you don't have a good relationship with your money and you don't know what really brings value, then it doesn't matter. I've spoken with a lot of millionaires, people that I would consider high earners, that are absolutely miserable in their financial lives. So it's not the amount of money. It's really how you live according to your values. And with entrepreneurs, here's what I say. That's why I really say, I want you to scale your business according to impact, not income, because when you're chasing the income, you're doing things that go against your values. You are working with clients that you don't actually want to work with because you're living in the scarcity mode, because you're only focused on making more money, right? Yeah. You are putting programs out that you don't feel good with because you're only focused on that next $50,000 month, that next $30,000 month, that next, $100,000 year, whatever it is, right? And so you're not making decisions based on what you truly believe in, the impact that you want to make in your business. And it's important, if you want to stay there for a while, if you, and I will say, building in then healthy processes into your business so you can build a financially sustainable and a financially healthy business, super important. But you use both together. I call it the magic and the money of business, right? That the magic piece is doing, the magic is the values, the magic is scaling for impact. And then the money piece is really the processes then that you put in place to bring it full circle, to bring it all the way around so that you have a really healthy business.
Yes, totally.
And you need both. You need all those pieces. You need belief in yourself, that you can build that you can be a successful business owner no matter how much money you're making. You need the belief in yourself that Just because you've never built a business before, you can do it this time, right? Even if nobody else, you need the belief that you can break those generational curses and generational traumas. You've tried before, you've seen people in your family do it, but they weren't successful. Doesn't mean that you can't be. You need the systems in place to make it all work, right? And to flow. And so you're using your time wisely. And you need to get out there and pull in the magic. And, there's this, shoot, I should have had it pulled up. There's this quote. It's a beautiful quote on magic. Basically, the phrase abracadabra is actually Hebrew, and it means basically, the magic is what I speak, right? And so what you speak out into the world, that's where the magic really comes into. So it's the speaking and the doing. It's not just, doesn't come out of thin air. It's that you are speaking it out into the world, and you are believing with every grain of salt that, every ounce that you believe that you can do it. Doesn't mean you're not scared, right? Doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. But you have to have all pieces to see your business be successful and see your life be successful. I believe it's all those pieces.
I love that. I'm gonna make that a whole ass clip. That was beautiful. That was amazing. There's also there's so many layers to Sarah. That's why you're gonna be on here multiple times. I feel like also super intuitive, super into astrology. I also love talking about the magic of who you are, and releasing that magic, and being a female entrepreneur, just being a woman entrepreneur. There's so much we could talk about with just that. But I would say if there was one thing that you could go back and tell, let's just go with 2010 Sarah, what would you say to her?
Wow. I might get emotional with this one, because 2010 and 2011 were really two of the hardest years of my entire life combined. And I've had some really, really hard years. I would go back and say, it's going to work out. It's going to work out, because I spent so much of my time. There's so many things that happened in 2010 and 2011 that I question my ability to parent my son, going through some major emotional traumas with him. Him getting diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. We went through a pretty rough sale and purchase of a home. So sold an old home, purchased a new one. My dad getting killed in a motorcycle accident. I had several really tough surgeries that set me back. Severe depression, severe anxiety. I would just go back and say, you know what, the universe has your back, and you're going to get through this, but you have to trust that you're going to learn a lot of lessons in this time that are going to be able to help other people get through the tough points. And I would say not to worry about everything. Don't spend so much time worrying. It is because of that journey. I needed every one of these pieces of me, every one of these instances in my journey to make me who I am today. It doesn't mean that it's less painful, but I do believe that it helps me to feel more compassion towards other people, to have more empathy, to see the things that so many people don't speak about. I can see it before you speak about it, because I have lived so much of it. And I am so grateful for every piece of it, although it was painful. Painful. I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, virtual hug.
I know, virtual hugs.
Love you. That was amazing, and I think we can all resonate with that. And I just love you just have so much wisdom, and I know that a lot of with wisdom comes a lot of pain, and so I just appreciate you like sharing all that. And I think it's kind of funny, not your story, but it's so interesting when 2017, 2018, 2019, like all of that, like our lives were very parallel. Like it's super interesting. As you were saying that, I'm like, weird. Also me. So just super cool to like hear your story. And I just appreciate you so much, and I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy lady, so I just thank you for coming on the podcast and just being so vulnerable and showing your heart to the world today. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Well, I want to say thank you for opening this space up. And I believe that we were brought into each other's lives for many reasons, and I am forever grateful for that. You are changing the world, Emily. So thank you for being you. You can find me, let's see, where am I at? On Instagram.
Where are you?
Where am I? A question that I ask myself often, because I have to look out and remember literally, where am I today? Instagram at Keeping Up with the Joneses FC. So for financial coach. So Keeping Up with the Joneses FC on Instagram, same with Facebook. Website is the same thing, Keeping Up with the Joneses FC.com. And I love just talking with people. And, I really believe in creating a courageous space for people to come and to share things that they've probably never shared about their money story before. So I just want you to know that you've got a friend, you've got somebody that's listened, somebody that really has probably been through it. Because let me tell you guys, if there's something to go through, I've been through a lot. But that doesn't mean that I'm taken away from your story. It just means that I understand the pain and the everything that comes along with that. So I love to reach out, talk money. Let's talk money, because you might be scared to do it. I am not. So let's normalize it a little bit more, shall we?
Definitely. And I will link all of that in the show notes, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I hope everybody has a great day, and I will talk to you soon.
Bye for now, friends.